Welcome back. In our previous video, we were talking about different types of storages, and one of the most common storage type which we use extensively in the cloud is called block storage. Now, to understand block storage, imagine something like this, that your data is divided into some blocks. Those blocks are fixed size. They don't have any metadata. Imagine them just like raw storages. So आपकी USB drive है, आपकी external hard drive है, and you can connect it with your system, and you can disconnect it from your system, right? So these blocks, they have a address, let's say block number, and your application decides कि उनको कैसे use करना है. So the way different blocks are connected, the way data is stored, your applications, in this case cloud is responsible for it. Now the most common example of the block storage is Amazon Elastic Block Storage. Let's clarify this with a diagram. Suppose करें कि आपके पास एक virtual machine, and this virtual machine has some kind of processing capability, and this virtual machine has some kind of a RAM and some kind of an existing storage, let's suppose 10 GB. Now since it's a cloud, we have a limitless storage space available, and what we want to do, हम इस storage space को extend करना चाहते हैं, ज़्यादा करना चाहते हैं. So what we can do, we can take a block from here. Let's suppose the size of the block is 5 GB, and we can attach this block with our virtual machine. So what happened now, that suddenly our virtual machine has a space which is 10 plus 5, 15 GB. अब इसका एडवांटेज क्या है? एक एडवांटेज तो ये है कि सपोज करें आपके पास ये वर्चुअल मशीन फेल होगी बिकॉज ऑफ एनी रीजन, वी डोंट केयर अबाउट द रीजन, लेकिन अगर ये वर्चुअल मशीन फेल हो गई, द ब्लॉक इज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ दैट वर्चुअल मशीन. एक्चुअली इसको हमने सिंपली क्या किया, माउंट किया हुआ, अटैच किया हुआ, जस्ट लाइक आवर यूएसबी ड्राइव. सो व्हाट वी कैन डू इन केस ऑफ अ फेलियर, we can create another virtual machine, and we can simply attach that block with the second virtual machine to have access to our data. So the application or the use cases of block storage are virtual machine and database. They provide raw access, and because of that, these are very fast. So database की जो applications होते हैं, we prefer कि वो हमारे पास का fast access provide. Now the second example is file store. Now file store is very, आप इसको daily basis पे use करते हैं, just like your folders and files view. Actually it's easy to browse them, share them, manage them, and the Elastic file storage and Azure files are the examples. So for example content management के लिए हम किसको इस्तेमाल करते हैं, फाइल स्टोरेज को इस्तेमाल करते हैं. सो फॉर दिस वीडियो आई हैव दिस फोल्डर जिसके अंदर बहुत सारे हमारे पास टेक्स्ट फाइल्स हैं, पीपीटी फाइल्स हैं, वीडियो फाइल्स हैं. सो फॉर सच काइंड ऑफ एप्लीकेशन वी यूज file storage in a cloud. Now the third type of storage which don't have an alternative in a traditional storage is called object storage. Now the way object storage work is different. जितने भी हमारे पास objects होंगे, each object is identified by some kind of ID. It's a unique, it's a system given, आप इसको assign नहीं करते, number one. Number two, these objects have a rich set of metadata, and this metadata is two types, system plus user. So आप अपना metadata भी इसको assign कर सकते हैं. And the last one is the objects don't have a hierarchy. So what happens is, just consider that let's take an application के lost and found है. So there is a bucket, and actually it is called bucket here in an object storage. So you have this buckets, and buckets have a single hierarchy, so you can't have a bucket within a bucket actually. So lost and found का bucket की example है, और जितने भी objects होंगे आप उसके अंदर क्या कर देंगे, place कर देंगे. So with proper identification they will be given to the right person. Now Amazon Simple Storage Service is the example of an object storage, and it is used for websites, for backups, for analytics and machine learning application. Now one thing which is missing in this slide is we use object storage for versioning, right? The way it works is कि जब भी आप किसी object को upload करते हैं, object का एक version store हो जाता है, let's suppose version 0. if we make changes into that version and you upload it again, the existing version stays there, and on top of it we have another version we want. So when we access it, we actually access the latest version, लेकिन ये वर्जन भी आपके पास स्टोर रहता है. सो ऐसा डेटा जो कि बार बार चेंज हो रहा होता है, you don't use object storage for such kind of data because the cost would be very high. So that's why we use it for contents जिनको हम इतना ज़्यादा change नहीं करते. Now, the difference between these three is when we talk about the structures, it's a raw blocks in case of block storage, but it is the structure is ID with metadata in case of object storage. Similarly, they are mounted as a drive, but in an object storage, when we access it, we access through URL because all the objects have this ID, or ID basically क्या है उनका URL है. So each object have a unique URL and we can simply access it using a web. चाहे REST हो, चाहे SOAP हो, or we can have dedicated APIs to access this object storage. And these are different type of application which we already discussed in our previous slide. Now there are two terminologies used in literature, managed and unmanaged storage. It's very simple actually. जब हम unmanaged की बात करते हैं, we are talking about a storage device which is not in our control. So we can use it, we can upload our file, data to it, but we cannot, for example, format it, or we cannot have our own file system on top of it. But when we say managed, so the management is in our control, we can format it, we can install our own file system in it. So जो हमने volumes की बात की, raw storage की बात की, block storage की बात की, that is an example of a managed type of storage. But like Dropbox or Google Drive, that is an example of a unmanaged storage type. So after answering what and how, we will cover the last part, what and why, we will cover the last part, how the cloud storage works. So whenever we access something in a cloud, we never access the physical resources, we always access the virtual resources. So we have these physical machines, and to access them we have this virtualization layer. So whenever client access through virtualization, we access these physical resources. Now all the storage, they are virtualized, data is replicated, so we have these multiple copies. So as जैसे हमने पहले देखा कि अगर particular virtual machine fail भी हो जाती है, we can access our data using another virtual machine. And depending कि आपके पास public cloud है या private cloud है, we can access the data via internet or via some kind of a private link. Nothing is perfect, so advantages or disadvantages हैं. Yes, we can access the data from anywhere, but at the same time we have the security and privacy risk because data हमारे पास नहीं है, third party के पास है. Huge scalability, but at the same time we have the internet dependency. Offline access limited होता है, especially अगर इंटरनेट हमारे जैसे कंट्री में स्लो है, so slow access होगा डेटा को या काम नहीं करता because of some government policies or any other reasons. So in that case ये उसका disadvantage है. Pay as you go model apply करता है, so it's cost effective, but we have the possibility of vendor lock-in. It's actually very hard to switch between the different cloud providers. Now here are some examples, and as you can see that Google Drive and Dropbox and Netflix, they have this object storage written with it, although we see them as a file storage, but that's just an illusion. So in the background they use object storage, but on top of that object storage it's just their application which shows these objects as files and folders to the end user. That's it for today. We will cover the inside of a cloud data center in our next video. Thank you for watching.